Where did all my money go? That is what I was left asking myself when I realized that I had been spending $120 a month on Starbucks. And $120 is a lot to spend on anything, but could be spending that on something like car insurance. And instead, I was spending it on coffee. We're here because nobody really teaches this stuff. In this video, we're going to cover how you can track money, how you can budget it, how you can save it, and how you can automate it. So, step one, know where your money is going. Most people skip this step, and it's pretty much the most important thing to know. 1 month of tracking, doesn't matter how. You can use an app, you can use a notes app, you can use Excel, you can use Google Sheets, you can use pen and paper, doesn't really matter. Then you break that spending into buckets: rent, food, transportation, subscriptions, and fun spending. The horror moment is the moment that I had when I realized that I've been spending 120 bucks a month on Starbucks. The best way to track where your money is going is to pull up your last month of bank or card statements and look through this. Actually do this, just sit down and do it right now. You can also use an app like Rocket Money or Credit Karma. Just know that if you use one of those apps, you're going to have to log into each of your financial institution accounts for your credit cards and your bank accounts to get everything in one page. That said, once it's set up, super easy to track. These apps will automatically sort things into buckets like rent or housing, food, transport, subscriptions, fun. Don't judge yourself yet, just take a look at it. If you take a look at what I was earning when I worked in a bike shop, I was making about $16.50 an hour, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks, that's about $31,680 gross income, minus the 16% tax meant that my take home was about $26,661. Rent in a city like Seattle at the time was something like $1,200 a month, which was about $14,400 a year. Food was probably about $500 a month. That's mostly cooking. It was about $6,000 a year or $600 a month. After rent and food, just like that, your 20K is gone before you've even done anything. The point of the math is that when you see it laid out, you understand where the pressure is coming from on your budget. It's not that you're bad with money, it's just that it may be going somewhere that you don't expect. Step two is to make a very simple budget. A budget is just a plan. It's not a punishment. It's looking into the future based on what you've been spending in the past to figure out where you need to put things. When you make a budget, you can also tweak where things are going. Like with my experience with Starbucks, if you decide that you don't actually want to do that, you can put that spending in another bucket, like saving and investing. Typically, a good starter framework is 50-30-20, so that's 50% needs, 30% wants, and then 20 saving and investing. You know you're in a high cost of living city if your needs might eat 60 to 70% of your budget. That's fine. Just know that you have to plan around it. The category that I really love is your money, your choice. So that's 10% of take-home spend. You can spend it on literally whatever, no guilt. And at this point, you're not depriving yourself. You're just being intentional so that you can spend at least 10% of what you make on whatever you want. The next step is to basically build an emergency fund. So you need to feel safe and secure that you're going to be able to afford something if there's an emergency. If you lose your job, then you need to have money to fall back on. So typically this is 3 to 6 months of whatever your living expenses are. If your rent is $2,000 and then your spending for the month is $1,500 a month, then you need $3,500 a month times 3 or times 6, depending on whatever you feel most comfortable with. But the point is to just start building an emergency fund. Most emergencies are going to be under $1,000, like a flat tire, an ER copay, broken phone. Having $1,000 means that bad weekdays can just stay bad weekdays and they don't need to spiral into a bad month or a bad year. The place that I like to keep my emergency fund is a high yield savings account with Marcus by Goldman Sachs. This and other high yield savings accounts from places like Ally, SoFi, and American Express tend to pay pretty well, usually somewhere between 3 and 4% right now, sometimes between 4 and 5%, versus the 0.01% that most banks will give you for just keeping your money in a traditional savings account. It's nice to keep this money separate from your other banking accounts because it's harder to touch. So you only want to use that money in emergencies. Coachella, not really an emergency. The next thing to look at is whether or not you're investing. And if you're not investing in anything, even $100 a month matters. Or in my case, 120 bucks a month that's going to Starbucks could be going to investing. The amount matters way less than the habit. Start small, start now, and ideally as your income grows, you'll be able to grow the amount that you can invest. I use the same analogy when talking about working out. It's better to just show up at the gym. If you haven't been going to the gym and only like walk on the treadmill or run for 30 seconds on the treadmill and then leave, then not go at all. The habit is the whole point. It's just showing up that matters in the first place. If we look at the math, $100 a month over 30 years at a 6.5% average annual return will get you over $100,000 by the end of that 30 years. The shocking part about interest is that $71,000 of that $100,000 comes from compound interest alone. So that's not even the money that you are putting in those accounts in the first place. I like to use calculator.net. It's a really good calculator for calculating interest. It's also good for figuring out when you have a loan payoff date. When you think about that $100 a month that you might be starting to put aside, typically, it's good to have either Roth IRA or high yield savings account or a split of the two. If you look at my blog post, I talk about $130 a paycheck, rounded to $100, going into a Roth IRA, assuming that I already had an emergency fund. That'll basically allow for tax-free growth, and then contributions come from post-tax dollars. Basically, when you sell the securities in that account and take money out, you won't have to pay taxes in retirement. The other nice thing about a Roth IRA is that you don't have required minimum distribution. The next step is to automate everything if you can. So willpower is not always consistent. We don't always have the willpower. I don't always have the willpower to film a video, but if you set up a system and do time blocking, or in this case, just automate your investing, the system is going to win every time. The thing that I do is I set up automatic transfers. So my money gets deposited every paycheck, do a checking account, and then from that checking account, it then gets routed into high yield savings accounts and investing accounts. Because this is all automated, I'm effectively paying myself first before I really think about spending any of the money left in that account. I've tended to notice that if I don't see the money in that account, then I won't miss it, and I'll never feel like I could spend that money because I don't really have it. Think of it like passive gym gains. You don't have to go every day, but building a habit helps quite a bit. It would be awesome if we could all just passively turn into a turbo gigachad overnight, but sadly that's not the way that the gym works, and it's also not how investing works. Though with investing, you can actually automate it. You don't have to go to the gym to invest. Even $25 a paycheck builds a habit and it adds up faster than what it feels like in the moment. The next thing that we want to look at here is where we can cut some spend. Tools like Rocket Money make it really easy to basically look at all of your subscriptions in a single screen and go through and be like, oh, I didn't know that I was paying for 2 HBO subscriptions. Maybe I should cancel one of those. Or I don't really use Netflix anymore. I am only using Hulu. So I'll cancel my Netflix subscription. In the case of paying for Rocket Money Premium, and have them go do that for you so you don't even have to talk to anyone. The rule of thumb that I usually try to follow is that I should cancel anything that I haven't used in the last 30 days. The other thing that we can do is we can cook more. $500 a month on food, cooking most meals, versus $800 a month on food if you're eating out constantly, is a pretty big delta. And if you invest that difference, then you can have dramatically more money in retirement. Not saying never eat out, just cook 3 to 4 meals a week and invest what you would have spent eating out. Another good rule to follow is the 48-hour rule on impulse buys. See something you want, you can add it to your cart, just wait 2 days. A lot of times, companies will also send you a discount code if they see that you've abandoned your cart, and then you can use that discount if you decide that you still want it 2 days later. Half the time, you don't care anymore. You won't even care if you get an email following up about how you left stuff in your cart. The other half, you still want it, and you can buy it guilt-free because you have that money set aside for guilt-free spending. I wouldn't ever try to cut everything at once. Maybe 1 or 2 things that you could cut in a single month, and then revisit it the next month and see, did I use that subscription again this past month? Maybe I can get rid of that. And just whittle it away over the course of a couple months. As a quick recap, there are 5 really easy moves to take control of your life financially. First, track your spending. Second, make a budget. Third, make sure you have a good emergency fund for 3 to 6 months of expenses. 4, automate everything. Habit is always going to be greater than the amount. The most important thing is to just start. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, drop a comment with your biggest money challenge,